Okay, good afternoon, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. We're into day 2 of the Tour de Alpes, and have we got a news programme for you today? Quite a lot to get through, so let's make a start. Today's sponsor of the Stage 2 Slot 3, which is what I'm going to be covering a bit later on, is sponsored by Pale O'Valley, which are a nutrition firm that offer products and excuse me, struggling with my breathing still. Yes, offer products and different. What's the word I'm looking for? Organic products and healthy options for cyclists and other sportsmen. Yesterday's stage was sponsored by Tom Cycle Clothing, and let's see if I can pull up the prize draw for you and show you who won the prize. So here we go. Again, you're gonna have to bear with me, folks, but we will actually get there. And there we go. That one should show up on screen. Come on, you up on screen? Why not? You know, I practice this and I plan this, and then when we go live, we just cannot get it to work. Okay, let's carry on. Let's continue with the rest of the news. And what I'm going to do in this section is run through yesterday's results, which were pretty exciting, to be honest. We had 4 time slots and some pretty good competition, and it wasn't until the final time slot, which was 1800 hours GMT yesterday, that we found out, well, the end of the session, we found out who the main leaders were. So I'm pretty sure that we can pull that up now. Let's see if we can get the... There we go. So if I transition that across for you, you should be able to see what I'm seeing here. And let's just put it full screen on that display. So overall, you can see this is age category based that James has put together. And I'm reading it along with you, possibly for the first time here. And the overall winner on time yesterday was Ivan Gadu. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, with a 35-minute 53 time, which really was pretty stunning. But you can go down to second place in the A1 category to find the second place rider on the day. You actually have to move away to one of the other categories. So he took the A1 category with 35.53, and that's the leading time. But unless I'm mistaken, and I'm not, Daniel Cadiz in the B category took second place in terms of time with 36 minutes. And then we had John Beams in the A group. I'll try and use my mouse here so you should see it on screen. John Beams, who was the only rider yesterday using a webcam. More about that later. But it was nice to see John suffering. He's a well-known rider. And John produced a time of 36.24, which again obliterated the times from the earlier sessions. So he came in third place yesterday. And then I think it was Christophe Contant, again in the B section, that came in with a 36.35 for fourth place. Now, I'm not going to call all the times out. I'm going to let you read the graphic that's on screen and you can see for yourself. So these are the men and youngsters that you're looking at here. We'll get on to the ladies in a minute, and that was an excellent competition as well. But just to quickly go over, I think you can see from the different age categories here and how close the results are. I mean, even down in the F category, you had a 39 from Olaf Stanner. So I don't think our own Keith from OTR in the E category, he had a 43. So there's not that much time between the leaders and those following on the heels. And don't forget, folks, with the different stages that are going to suit different types of riders, I think this is going to change. And in fact, I think today's stage may well see a bit of a shake around as well. And once again, this is going to go down to the wire. Already on the 0600 slot this morning, you've probably seen from the breaking news, which is showing on screen, John Beams has set the fastest time so far on the 0600 slot. Now, I haven't had time to have a look at the 0700 slot myself yet. So I don't know whether that's been trumped. I don't believe it has. I'm pretty sure that John, with a 48.39, is leading the pack at the moment. Now, that may well stay. We'll see what happens in my slot, which begins in 18 minutes. But we'll see what happens, whether anybody can overtake John's time. And I suspect it will go down to the wire tonight on the 1800 GMT slot, which I'm going to be able to log on and watch along with the rest of you tonight, I hope. I haven't got duties tonight, so I should be able to watch that live. And so it's hotting up. There's some good competition. But it's too early, folks, to really look at this graphic and say, oh, well, they're the contenders. Because there are a few riders outside of the main. I mean, I'll give you one example. Wouter Klaas is a really class rider, one I highlighted yesterday, and somebody who I expect to climb the rankings when the scenery and stages more suit him. So we'll see what happens there. But also, you know, we have other climbers as well, and other riders who are strong on different types of terrain. And so everything could change. I mean, Paul Pudell, another OTR rider, he's not far away from the leaderboard. Who else? Let's just have a quick look. Who else have we got? Henrik Mard. I mean, he's off the podiums at the moment, but he's certainly going to be there or thereabouts and in with a shout. So yeah, I think there's a few riders that haven't shone yet that will continue to do so. And you can actually see on the screen as well, you can see some of the ladies that are out of the podium spots, but are still showing up on the leaderboards. But let's go. Excuse me, folks. Let's go to the ladies and have a look what happened there. So here we go. There we go. There's the ladies on screen for you. So the ladies categorization, or the women's classification, was taken by Savarine. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, and that goes for all my commentary, folks. I'm a Yorkshireman, and although I've cycled around the world and seen different countries and different cultures and communities, I still struggle to pronounce foreign names. So my apologies if I don't quite get it right. I'm stating that off now, and I'll probably say it again a few times during the broadcast. But I do try my best. So we've got Savarine Lipoc in first place. We've got Kate, who I highlighted yesterday during my broadcast, Kate's an amazing rider, and I think she'll be a real contender. She's already in second place, but I think moving forward, she's going to be a real contender. But she'll also have Alyssa on her heels, as she is now throughout the whole tour. Uh, and I'd expect them two and Savarine to be really giving a close battle here. But there's ladies that are not quite onto the podium yet, who are certainly going to shine, and more about that later as we get further into the tour. So it's good to see we have had quite a good number of ladies taking part, and that's amazing and really good for RGT. The fact that we're promoting not just the men and the elites, but the ladies as well. Okay, so let's end with that section of the news and see what else we've got. So I'm just going to close this down and get back to, here we go, getting back to my newsroom. I'm going to see if I can get the prize draw running for you again now. We have it. There we go, folks. So this is live, and this is the prize draw as it happened earlier. So this is what we use. We use this spinning wheel, and it pops up a name. And there you can see it popped up Isifor-A. Now, I don't know his real name, but there you are. And that's how the prize draw is done, folks. I'll just let it run again for you so you can see it. All the names are put into this draw, and it's completely random the way it works. And then the wheel stops on a name, and bingo, you get the winner, which yesterday, and the sponsors were Torm Cycle Clothing. So thank you very much, Torm, for supporting us and giving away prizes. Don't forget, folks, that today we've got Palo Valley, and they'll be giving away a spot prize today, and that will be announced as is the same as today tomorrow. So let's move on. What other news have we got? Let's just close this down off the screen. I think we can dispense with that now. Just bear with me while we take it off screen. Boom, gone. Okay, so what else have we got? Right. Let's go and now then, Alex from Rasio Racing contacted us, and this is his message, and he asked, could we announce the fact that the Tour of the North dates have changed, and the new date is the 15th to 18th of November. Because the race calendar on RGT is getting busier, as he states, then it was necessary for them to push it back a little bit by a week and avoid clashes with other events. That's really responsible of Alex, and to be fair, almost all of the organisers on RGT work together to try not to clash with each other. I certainly tried. I did make a mistake when doing my last tour, the Tour of Sicily, but I did try to make sure I wasn't clashing with other tours, and I actually changed the timings of my tour so as not to clash with events that were happening at the same time. So we do try to work together, hence why we're promoting Alex's event here. And it looks a really good event, actually. So that's one which we might well be able to offer a little bit of coverage to. But we'll see what else is happening on the calendar. I think we have an event to notify you about as well. Yeah, we have. Okay, I haven't got a graphic for this, but we have a mini tour coming up soon. It's going to be our next big event. Oh, just let me take this one. Take those off screen for the moment. Yeah, we have a mini tour coming up, and this is going to be Yeah, this is just a teaser. We've got a 5-day tour with general classification, sprint, and King of the Mountain classifications. And this starts the first week in December. Now, I've only been given this teaser for you, so what I'll do is I'll report on this as James or Paul Nichols sends me over the information. So you'll probably get this information later on in the news broadcasts of this tour. Okay, and you probably saw I accidentally flicked up another image on screen. So let's see if we can find that one again. Where was it? Here we go. Yeah. I've been asked to give a shout out to SDW's Friday Frenzy. What details have I got about this one? Yeah, this is the return of Friday Frenzy, and it's going to return on the 19th of November at 18:30 hours. I assume that's going to be GMT. South District Wheelers are running it, and hence the SDW. And again, this is a very popular series in the past, so hopefully it will get good turnout this time around. We are getting full calendars, so you have to choose your events wisely, but please try and support many of these organisers, because we all put in a lot of hard work. I certainly do, both as a promoter and also now as media manager for OTR. I mean, it takes hours to prepare these broadcasts, so I hope you appreciate the work being put in by not just me, but the other organisers on RGT. Okay, so that's that news spell out of the way. What else we got? Yeah, okay. Now then, the next section might be a little bit controversial, but I'm going to address an elephant in the room. I've had a fair bit of feedback from my comments that I made yesterday about a rider, Hebidan, possibly being miscalibrated or possibly needing to sort out his setup. And it was pointed out to me that he's a well-known rider, he's very strong, and maybe he is, you know, the real deal. And I say maybe, I'm assuming he is the real deal. I'm not calling anybody a cheat. I would never do that. And if I do make comments that suggest that a rider needs to look at his setup, take them with a pinch of salt, but also take them seriously, because I'm going to go move into a section now that I want you to understand. We at OTR are foremost in promoting fair racing. And on that note, I'm just going to bring up on screen, something which we push for quite heavily with riders that take part in our tours. And that's that you verify your performance. Now, this is in the handbook, actually. There are different... I'm going to pull up the section in the rider handbook for you a bit later. But basically, there are various ways that you can choose to verify your performances. And it's not rocket science, and it's not difficult to do so. And to be honest, if you are the real deal, as it says at the bottom of this graphic, you should have no issues whatsoever with taking up some or all of the measures necessary to verify your performance. I mean, you've nothing to lose by it. You're making people believe in your credibility, and it's not costing you anything other than a little bit of time maybe to get it sorted. So the first thing we ask is always wear a heart rate monitor if you're serious about your racing. I mean, I assume you do so in training, so why not when racing? And although the heart rate doesn't tell the full story, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I was a little bit cautious about yesterday, because Hebden's heart rate was pretty low all through the event, even when he was going into the red. But, and I'm going to give him credit here, he could be immensely fit. He could be a really fit individual who, shall we say, his maximum heart rate is not far off what I was seeing. So, you know, I'm going to be the first to hold up my hand if I'm wrong. So all I'm asking is verify your performances. And it's not difficult to do. Use a webcam and show your live performances. I mean, that's a great way. I certainly do it. And that's a great way of showing people that you're suffering, that you really are working hard. You can also flash it down to show your setup, to show your bike, to make sure that you're not using your e-bike on the trainer, which incidentally I have done. I have done just to prove how easy it is to do, how easy it is to cheat. And it's not, you know, unless you have a webcam actually showing that you're using an e-bike, nobody's going to know. So that's just one of the many ways. And one of the things I'm going to go on to do later is I'm going to run a whole program on this topic, on, you know, performance in races and fairness. I'm going to do a bit of research first, a bit of background checking, but I'm also going to be looking at all the performances of the top riders in this tour and other tours that have gone past, and using that data before I make stupid comments in the broadcast. So the broadcast is going to be well researched and it's going to be truthful. But that's for the future. For now, all I'm asking is that people, because I've had some pretty nasty comments thrown my way since I made, you know, my thoughts and put them out there. But I've also been contacted by an ex-national champion who is really a little bit upset that he's been absolutely creamed by riders who he knows in real life wouldn't get even close to him. So you have to look at it on both sides. If you're a fair rider, get yourself verified. There are two websites that you can go to. There's the excellent eBio Passport. The website address is on screen that you can see, and that's a great place to go if you're really serious about e-racing and your sport. I think that's the one where you have to put in the most effort to verify yourself, but it's well worth doing if you're really serious about your sport. What I was pretty sad to see is that there's only 97 riders actually signed up there, and that's pretty dismal, to be fair. Okay, and the other one is a group that we've created, and that's facebook.com, the RGT Fair Ride, Ride Fair Facebook group. Go along there. Address again is on screen, or just type it into Google, RGT Ride Fair Facebook group, and join the group. And I'll be posting there results of my research and background checking as we move forward. Anyway, I'm not going to labour the point too much. We've got a race to run, so let's get on and go live. Here we go. I hope I haven't waffled on too long because we need to get live. So hopefully we'll be in time to... Oh, am I going to miss the start? This would be a bit of a disaster, folks, if I've missed the start, but we'll get in on the action in a moment. Okay, there we go. Turn the pedals and then we'll find out what's happening at the front of the action. Okay, there we go. Now let's find out what's happening at the action. Come on. Show me what's happening. Bear with me, folks. I'll get there. Come on. You just love glitches. Don't panic, Derek. It'll come right. Get it sorted out. Come on now. It's getting silly. Okay. Are we still showing me on screen? Why is it not? I don't understand why it's not allowing me to. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. We're in on the race. Sorry we missed the first couple of minutes, but nothing really. I mean, the start, as you can see, is flat for, I think, the first half of the race, and then we hit the hill. So let's zoom out and see. In fact, if we spin round, let's take it from the other angle. There we go, folks. I'm sorry I missed the start, but I knew it was going to be a group start, and I did want to cover the topic that I've covered. So here we go. Let's have a look and see. Nobody's jumped off the front, so this is as I expected. I expected it to be a group bunch start. You can see that one rider is trying to jump off the start, and that's Herrera. But this is going to stay together until we hit the climb. I'm pretty confident about that. And I think all your main contenders for this stage are going to stay together pretty much until we get into the meat and bones of the climb. Looking pretty good, actually. Nice big group. So what we'll do is we'll work his way quickly through the group to see, and then we'll come back and find out whether anybody's jumping off the front. But let's work his way quickly. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to see who's following on behind and the actual gap. And the gap here is 170 meters, give or take 3 or 4 meters. So we've got Pena, Cavelius, Taylor, and Audiantono. The foursome making a sterling effort to chase, and then I'm just going to quickly flick back, and then we've got Potter, who's been dropped at the back. Potter's a good, I suspect he's had an issue like me, because he's a good 1 kilometer behind and off the pace. So a lot of work here, Potter. In fact, let's just zoom in. Is it a he? Yes, it is. So Potter's got a lot of work to do, and in fact you can see his wattage. Oh, there we go, he was freewheeling. So I think he's going to need to put in a supreme effort to get back to the front, which is where we're going now. There we go. And that was Nixon on the front. Now this is a big turnout today again. We had a great turnout yesterday. We had 39 riders. It's showing 26 riders today, so this is another good turnout for a lunchtime slot. And let's just zoom out a little bit so that we can stay with the action. But yeah, this is going to stay as much, pretty much. Daniel, he had a good ride yesterday from OTR. And I don't think anybody is going to break away, but they could end up surprising me. So let's make sure we stay abreast of the action. Sanderson, he's another key rider that I expect to do well today. But the tactic here would be for the bigger guys to do possibly what's happening here, and that's try and get a little bit of a gap before we hit the climbs, because they know they're going to lose ground once we hit the climb to the pure climbers. So get as much distance as you can prior to getting there, and that would be a really good tactic. I'm seeing somebody putting in fact, I'm going to try and highlight him now. Oh, Callan is putting in 9.2 watts a kilo to close this gap. Wow. Okay. And is he going to go flying past, or are they going to jump on his... sensibly, they're jumping on his wheel. I mean, that was a huge effort to get back to the front. But as he pulled the group with him, that's quite exciting. Yeah, he's pulled the group with him, look. So these two are not going to get away. I think my original statement that this is going to go as a group to the bottom of the climb is going to hold fast. Although we do have a little bit of a rise coming up. They're on a slight slope at the moment. So this could sort them out, but I don't think it will. I think we'll see this short rise coming up. It seems to get steep because it goes red. But I think we'll see this short rise... seeing the riders staying together. I think it's not long enough to split the pack up. Although we have got a few riders off the back. Pretty much, I think most of these riders are going to stay together. Yeah, there we go. You could see the slope went up to 5.2%, which is not too steep. And I believe the climb is something like an average of 7 or 8%. So, but with some steeper sections thrown in. We're on the steepish downhill now. So people are going to have to put in big efforts, especially the lighter riders are going to have to be careful they don't get dropped on this section. I hate flat sections like this in races, purely and simply because I'm such a lightweight. I'm only 63, well, not even that at the moment, 63 kilos. I just haven't got the power to be able to stay with the big lads as they're putting in the watts going downhill. And I get dropped usually on sections like this. But as I say, they're staying together nicely. I mean, a few riders are off the back, and we'll catch up with them shortly. I'm going to stay with this front group because I want to see them hit the climb, and then we'll start working his way back through the field and see what's happening behind. I'm expecting today's broadcast to, I mean, we've already covered 5 kilometers. So we're a third of the way into the ride at the moment, just over actually. A third of the way into the ride already after just 9 minutes. So I'm expecting this ride to be about 50 minutes long for the winners, give or take, maybe even less. Most of the riders are going to come in under the hour, certainly. Okay, let's pull up my my database of riders, and then we can make sure we know their... Oh. That's Justin Bradbury on the front from the UK, as you can see by the flag. And then I think it's it's Robin Sanderson. Is the Sanderson? What's Daniel's first name? I should know it because I've covered him before, but I just cannot remember. I have a shocking memory, folks. That's why I can't remember. Magalhaes. Daniel Magalhaes. So he actually uses his surname as his first name in RGT. Bradbury at 4 watts a kilo, just pushing off the front. But now I don't know the rider's stats. Later on in the tour, I will have more information on that, and I'll be able to provide more insight into riders. Also, I'm covering some of the ZMS live streams, I think 3 in total, my first being tomorrow. And that's going to give me a great insight into some of the riders as well, because they actually have all the stats, and they pull up riders' weight, height, etc. on screen. So I'll get a better knowledge of riders, but I'm also keeping my own small notes here about riders and trying to track their performances and their weight and various other bits and pieces to help me with my commentary. Okay, so I'm going to leave this group to sort of like work on the start of this hill, and we're going to work his way backwards, folks, so that we can see what's happening behind, because I think that's the only fair thing to do. Let's pull up the graphic. There we go, and see who we've got coming on behind. I mean, I think I've got Paul Nichols was signed up for this one, but I can't see him, so I don't think he's taking part. Okay. So you can see we've got a few groups on the road now. That's the ZMS camera. So and there's only one there's me, and then there's another rider who never got off the start. So working his way to the front. Riders are staying together in a nice tidy group. I think there's 7 or 8 of them here. 9 of them actually. And then it's 35 meters to the group following on behind. So we'll zoom in a little bit to see if we can. There we go. That's better. Work my way through this group. Who's Mr. Nixon? Let's have a look. Not in the database, so he's obviously signed up a little bit later. I think, well, I don't think that's a Swedish flag, so Nixon, the Swede, is leading them out at the moment. Then we've got Daniel, who's from Brazil. We've got Sanderson from the UK. We've got Orff from Germany. Sondergaard from Norway. Sondergaard had a good ride yesterday. We got Kalin. I'm not sure where that flag's from. Somebody can let me know in the comments if they will. We've got Peter from Belgium. I think it's Belgium. Gray from the UK. Bradbury from the UK. And Graham chasing on behind. There's Gray, there's Bradbury, and there's Graham. 3 UK riders just distanced off the main group. But there's time to claw it back. They're on the 10% section of the climb now, which is pretty damn steep. Having said that, we had 25% yesterday, folks. I don't know whether you've watched the video. If you haven't, I suggest you go to my YouTube feed and have a look at it, because it was awesome. The scenery was wonderful, but 25% the poor souls were going up, and it looked brutal. And Keith actually, in the later broadcast, went online and said it was hell. And he's a top climber. So for a top climber to actually say it was hell gives you an idea. And then these are like the 4th mini group on the road. Angelella and Newnham. And who's that? Herrera. giving me a wave, so he's obviously listening to the broadcast. Well done, sir. I've covered Herrera before, actually. Is it Brian? Let's have a look. No, it's sorry. I'm doing it. I always get mixed up because there's two of them, and this is Barbara. This is Barbara Herrera, who's an excellent climber. Work my way back down the field. We've got Dallin. We've got, I don't know how to pronounce it, Juez Dread? We ought to call him Judge. In fact, there you go, Judge Dread. We got LeBlanc. There's Colin from France. So you can see from this that folks are finding their own pace. They're finding a rhythm, and you know they're still pushing out. I mean, Cavelius here is still pushing out 3.5 watt kilos. So he's definitely putting in a hard effort. Not wearing a heart rate monitor, but and a pretty low cadence as well. So he's obviously a grinder, but putting in some good numbers here. Oops, let's get back to the front. Now then, is this Chris O'Hearn? I didn't see his name on the start list, but let's see whether I can find him on the... No, but I think this... it's got to be Chris O'Hearn. Of course it has. Chris is a top competitor as well. He's going to be there or thereabouts in the shout-outs. And incidentally, Chris was covering yesterday's broadcast. I think it's Chris. Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, he's wearing the RGT jersey, so that's Chris O'Hearn. And as I say, he was covering the ZMS commentary yesterday, along with Damon Bates' ZMS stream, and it was fantastic. I think he did a really good job. I'm always nervous. I've done a lot of it, but I'm still nervous doing commentary, and I still make silly mistakes, particularly with pronunciation, but also I sometimes get it wrong in other ways. But it's a learning curve, and it's good fun actually. I really do enjoy, because I try to use Chris's name even on the tarmac there. I do try to use my experience. I've been around in e-racing since it began, and I try to use that experience to sort of like help sort out the tactics and things that are going on in these races. And the Tour de Monde last year, there was some absolutely fabulous team tactics going on between the team I'm a member of now, OTR, and Rasio Racing in particular. And it was just superb to watch and superb to commentate on, because I understood exactly what was happening, the way that OTR worked over one of the Rasio Racing riders, who was by far the strongest rider on the day, but he didn't win the stage because of the tactics of OTR. And if you do have the time, nip over again to my YouTube feed and have a look at some of those videos, and try and find that one where they did battle, because it was really superb. One of the best broadcasts I think I've ever done. And we're covering, while we're on that note, we're covering the Tour de Monde once again in January this coming year. And I, for one, am really looking forward to it, because we're going to be more prepared this time. We're going to have this feed, so we're going to be able to highlight all the stages. And I should certainly be more practiced and more polished. Maybe not make as many mistakes as I'm making. But that will all come with practice. I mean, one of the ways which I intend really streamlining the broadcast and everything is to eventually, when I got time, have shortcuts and use technology to fire up the things on screen just by pushing buttons, rather than having to do it manually, which is what I'm doing at the moment. Because by doing sort of like camera changes, scene changes and everything manually, there's room for error. When you've got a button to press, there's no room for error. It just does it automatically. And the functionality already exists. It's already there. You just have to spend the time and effort, tying all your actions down to buttons. And once you do that, it makes it quite seamless. And that will happen as I move forward. But I have a busy family life at the moment. I have two small girls that I have to ferry backwards and forwards to school and to appointments, etc., as well as trying to do all this coverage. And I do a lot. I put in a lot of work to prepare the news for this broadcast, and then obviously I ran over with my own segment on verification. But I put in a lot of work, folks, so I hope you appreciate that. And if you do, please hit the like button and even subscribe to the channel, because I'm trying to grow it and trying to, promote RGT and OTR here on the platform. And in my previous life, I promoted RGT and brought them across, not RGT, Team 3R, and brought them across from Swift. And I think I did a pretty good job establishing them on the platform. That task has now been taken up by Matt Looker from Team 3R, and I wish them well. I have a lot of heartfelt thanks to Team 3R for the way they looked after me over the years, and I wish them everything and the best for the future. Obviously not to beat OTR in the races, but yeah. And there's Sondergaard. I expect him to be there or thereabouts at the end of this stage. And this is Sanderson, my teammate. Peter's looking strong. Let's just highlight him and see what. Yeah. Keeping his heart rate under control, but 4.3 watt kilos. So he's keeping a steady pace, steady power. 14% we're on now, so he's yeah, and you can see his heart rate is actually climbing as we're watching. So it's pretty obvious that to try and stay at his 4 watt kilo mark, he's really having to work hard here, and his heart rate is climbing. Have a look at some of the other riders. I mean, heart rate is a personal thing. You can look at one rider as we are doing here, and with Bradbury, and the heart rate can be, much higher than the rider in front of them, which is the case here. You've got Gray at 146, and then you've got Bradbury. And that doesn't mean that one rider is working a hell of a lot harder, because look at the difference in wattages. It just means the different weights, the different heights, and yeah, heart rate doesn't tell the full story. But it is a good guide when you've watched a rider for a good length of time in events and in races, and it gives you a good clue as to whether that rider is really working hard or whether he's taking it easy. There's a crowd at the side of the road. Let's find out what's happening at the front. Chris is still pushing up front, and he's pulling out a bit of a gap. Now, I've known Chris for quite a while from over on Swift. He was very, very active over there. He's been very active here on RGT. But I learned something about Mr. O'Hearn yesterday, which took me a bit by surprise, because Chris uses the British flag, but I'm pretty sure. I mean, I know he's lived out in Dubai, and he's running a Dubai series for OTR shortly. But doesn't he have a link with Australia? And that came as a bit of a surprise to me. So maybe Chris is going to clarify that for me. What is your link with Australia, Chris? I'd be interested to know. Okay, come on, let's get back to the action. Daniel in second place. Now, Daniel's chasing 70 metres behind Chris. And about a third of the way into the climb. So lots of time. He's just going to keep his effort. But you can see he's already at 168 heart rate. In fact, I didn't check. Yeah, Chris has got a super low heart rate. But he's a rider that I would never question because I know him so well. And I know that Chris, I think he's an ex-triathlete. But I do know that he's super fit. And so I would expect to see low heart rates from Chris until he starts to really push the big watts. And he's a big guy as well. I don't know what his weight is, but in terms of height, he's a pretty big guy. But you can see that Daniel, who's a much smaller rider in stature, his heart rate is really climbing, just trying to hold on to Chris. And in fact, he's not doing so. He's dropping further, and Chris is just, as we speak, Chris is just putting in an effort. But Daniel here is really having to work very hard just to try and hold the gap, which to his credit he's done. Look, it was over 100 and now he's brought it back down. So he's making a really good battle here and fist of it. Well done. Now, Kaelin, no heart rate. It was a bit disappointing, but nice cadence, nice power output, looks smooth. Sondergaard, as I say, is a rider that I've covered in quite a few events, so I know him pretty well in terms of his riding style and the effort, kind of efforts he can put in. Sanderson, he's not. This is not near the top of his heart rate, I believe. So he's got a bit more to give, but obviously he's very, very sensibly timing his effort here. Because if you push too early on a climb like this, you're going to actually lose time rather than if you're taking it a little bit easy initially and then give everything you've got towards the end of the stage, not towards the beginning of the climb. And this looks good. He's keeping a nice steady 4 watt kilos, which is a really good effort. And he's gaining, look, he's gaining on the 2 riders in front. So that's the way to do it. Just keep your pace nice and steady. Manage your heart rate. Keep it under control. It's climbing a little bit there. 152, look. So he's got to keep that under control. I mean, I know myself, I'm compromised now through my illness with my breathing. So I have to be really, really careful. And although I'm a lightweight and I once was a good climber, I have to be super careful with my heart rate on climbs because otherwise I just cannot physically breathe or get enough oxygen in to be able to maintain the effort. Nixon looking good again, another solid 4 watt kilos. Sugar. Tell me I've been kicked out. Ah, da, 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 da. Okay, let's see if we can get back in. I set all the alarms yesterday, and I have to admit, oh dear, dear, dear. Oh dear. Okay, folks. Major screw up time for Derek. So I'm going to have to cover one of the other time slots. I'll cover the 6 o'clock time slot. Oh, I can't believe I've done this. So you can see it doesn't matter how polished I try to make the broadcasts, I still make mistakes. I mean, yesterday I got it perfect, set all the alarms, and today I simply forgot to do so. So that's the end of the broadcast, folks. I'm terribly sorry. Really, really disappointing. I want to cry. I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be making this mistake at this point in my broadcasting now. This is unforgivable. But I just wish RGT would give me a broadcasting mode. Okay. Well, nothing else for it. I can only apologise. I hope you've enjoyed what I've managed to bring you so far. You enjoyed the news section. And we'll catch up with you later on in the day. Now, ZMS are covering the 6 o'clock time slot, but I think I'm going to do a broadcast. I'm not going to do it in competition with them. So if you want to watch part of the broadcast, you can come along to my channel. I'm not going to post links because I don't think that's fair on ZMS. But you will be able to find the broadcast on my channel, and I will set alarms to make sure that I'm not kicked out. And I'll do that in penance for getting this wrong. So, catch you later, folks. And once again, my sincere apologies.